So we have a new episode for building the open web. We have today Yisi from Dimension and Maskbook. Maybe we can start by introducing yourself.
This is Yisi, and I'm the CTO at Dimension. We have been working on privacy and security-related solutions for 2 years. We have two main products right now. So one is called Maskbook. It's a browser extension that allows users to post encrypted posts on social network sites, like on Facebook and Twitter. Basically, with this extension, you can post end-to-end encrypted messages on both websites, and only the designated recipient of your choice can see and decrypt it. And the other product is called TesterCube, which used to be a mobile input method. And with this keyboard, you can just type and encrypt your message in whichever instant messaging app you want. So basically, even if you are using WeChat, you can just type whatever you want, the plain message, and then click the ones you want to encrypt to, and it'll just encrypt it end to end and send it out within that app. And we are using PGP in that. But it was I can't say it's too old school, but PGP is not designed for those instant messaging apps because PGP has a really long text that most of the instant messaging app don't allow that. So we have done another app called the new TesterCube, or I don't know, because the old TesterCube was renamed to TesterPG because it was designed for PGP, but the new TesterCube is a really brand new app, which is a real instant messaging app that supports end-to-end encryption natively. And we do have some other features, and we are founded by Mozilla Fixed Internet Incubator, and hopefully we can have it ship very soon. Sorry, it wasn't brief introduction, but yeah, that's mainly what we are doing right now.
No, that's super helpful actually for the listeners. And so maybe we can also start from the very beginning. Where did you grow up?
Okay, I grew up in Shanghai, and when I turned to 18, I moved to Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, where I went to the college in DeFi and studied computer science. So I did my bachelor and master degree there, and I was mainly working on natural language processing and machine learning there. And then I just decided to come back to China and did this startup with my friends.
Got it. How did you decide about going to study in US? Was it that this particular field in Illinois was better option than, let's say, studying in China?
My friends in high school and even in secondary school went to the US for college. That's a pretty common thing between our friends. And we have studied both Chinese colleges and US colleges, and we decided, hey, US has a much better education system. So we decided to come out of China for a better education. I mean, Illinois has a really strong CS background, and I love CS. That's why I went there.
And back in school, were you already getting interested in privacy and encryption when you were studying, or?
Actually, not encryptions, but privacy, because I can share one of my projects in school, because I was doing research with a professor there, and the main thing was we were trying to build it was called HIV radar. Basically, we were trying to find the signals that that's related to HIV rate, HIV growth in some counties in the US. So we built this based on Twitter's data, and the techniques the background was we have this the numbers from CDC that shows the HIV growth rate, I don't know, HIV growth rate in each county in the US. And we do have the data from Twitter because Twitter has the streaming API that we can use back to like 5 or 6 years ago. And we want to do this correlation between what people are posting on Twitter, on social network sites, to find the signals that that's mostly related to those like HIV or HIV or other like dangerous virus. And so based on this model, we can predict which county is most vulnerable, so that we can like notify CDC that hey, you guys are gonna do something there, because like if you do not, like the people there are really dangerous to like to get HIV. And the results were pretty awesome, because like we do have some like um pretty great signals there. But when I was working on that, I just realized that hey, everybody's data is like exposed to everyone on the internet, especially on Twitter, because like Twitter is for open web. And can we really do that? Because like even though like Twitter, everybody's profile on Twitter are public, we still cannot just use their data, because like hey, that's people's privacy. Like people are usually posting their like private lives on Twitter. Even though it's public, no one can find it or unless you're their friends. And back then, I was like thinking, hey, can we really do this? And because like we were also trying to get the data from Facebook and Instagram, uh, we're we're like the data was more private. And I was talking to my professor, and I was talking to my friends, and like we do know that this is not good, but for like research purpose, we can do this under like some regulations. But hey, people are like using, because we are using some like open endpoints that everybody can use on. I'm not sure if this is like suitable for some other like purposes. Like when I was like 2016, the biggest scandal was on Cambridge Analytica scandal, that basically they're just using open data on Facebook, and like did some really bad thing in the US and in the UK, right? So after that, we decided, hey, we should do something. And back to 2019, and we finally find a way and find a good opportunity to work on this. So, and that's pretty much the thing why we started this.
How big is the community among your friends or overall in China and engineering community of people who are interested in privacy? Is it something that widespread interest of people or
It's a good question. I don't think so. People are benefited from like being stolen, like benefited from like their privacy being stolen, actually, because like people get like really huge like benefits from those companies, such as do you know Pinduoduo? It's a online Salesforce company that they are using people to send out their like goods and on WeChat and things, and trying to get the people's discounts, because like people are trying to help them propagating their things. But I don't know, like people don't really care that their privacy are being stolen, because they get the money back. They get a really huge discount. Like no one would ever care about their privacy until they feel like, hey, like I'm getting hurt instead of getting benefits. So for now, like people are still getting benefits in China, and I don't really think people really need to care about the privacy being stolen. So it's a really good, like early stage in China right now.
in terms of like awareness? What about how do you think about Europe and US and how people think about privacy?
Privacy, well, I guess I cause like I went to Germany, but I guess like I cause like I was talking to my German friends, and they care about privacy a lot. I think people are caring about like privacy much more than people in the US and China. I don't know, but because like we have like GDPR in Europe, and it was really strong, and people are really caring about this because like um I don't know, like they treated Facebook in some really strange way to the US people because they they they're really careful using Facebook. And Germany has a really strict regulation on hate speech on Facebook right now, and that's why people are like, I mean, that should be part of the reason why people are careful on Facebook right now. But the people in the US, because like we talk to some end users. By end users, they're like non-technical normal American people, and they never know that their data was stolen by Facebook and other like companies at all. And but I guess like people in the Europe realize that because like you were talking about coronavirus, and I got a really interesting article from my friends because like yeah we were talking about like the coronavirus, how governments treat coronavirus in these days. And he said, "Hey, here's a really interesting article," and the article shows that China has done some really unbelievable thing in this like pandemic, because like as you know that the U.S. government and the European governments are using Bluetooth and GPS to locate people's devices to make sure to trying to make sure that people are like keeping people are keeping the social distancing in those like countries. But in China, that was really strange to me because like in China, the article said the Chinese government refused to use this technology to trace people in this pandemic. I was pretty like shocked because like I thought China could be the first ones to use this technical to use these techniques because China has been working on this for years, and we have cameras everywhere in the streets. And why would China like abandon this opportunity to officially trace people? I was pretty shocked.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard about it. What do you think about also like it seems like in US there is it's a small group of people who care about privacy, but it's a growing community. If you look at like number of queries done on like DuckDuckGo, for example, or like number of users of Firefox, it seems like that there is a growing kind of like a small group, but still growing group of people who actually like opt in for like using Firefox instead of Chrome or using DuckDuckGo instead of Google
Hmm.
search. So it seems like that the privacy is becoming kind of like a bigger theme, and some people are actually starting to use different products because of their privacy choices. But do you see
Hmm.
yourself for like Muskbook and for TesserCube? Do you see like a lot of people like proactively using the privacy solution? So you feel like it's super early and there's like a lot of education that needs to be done first.
I guess the latter because like MacBook to me like MacBook is a great product, but to those like end users, like MacBook is just still like too hard to use because like we were using like private keys. You will need to like at least understand, hey, how does a private key work instead of a username password system? And they cannot figure out why I need to like write down this like long 64 like length long on like private key in their system, or they will probably need to like figure out some other places to store it like securely, because if you lose it, you lose it. You can never get it back. I mean, we have been trying to like grow our community in China, both in China and in the US. But people are still like there are two things like two like problems we have right now. First, like is that hey, why would I need to encrypt my post even though I was just posting my daily lives. I never post like sensitive data. I never like post those like things that could like do some backfire on me. That's one thing people would think about, and they refuse to use this. They're not refusing to use this, but they just said, hey, I just don't know why I would ever use this product. And the second one is that it's a private key thing, because people cannot figure out how to like set up this MacBook thing, because our like major users still are still like those blockchain, uh, at least like people with some blockchain backgrounds, and even though they were just like using blockchains to earn money. Yeah, but they still know, hey, how a private key works, even though they're not technical like people. And we were still trying to figure out how to lower the barrier to access Facebook, but I guess it's gonna be a long way to go. We probably need to like switch back to a username password system with like really least centralized service related, but still like people will feel much better with this system instead of a really like a real decentralized system.
Interesting. And how do you think about different messaging applications and different platforms, like in terms of like which ones are more private? I remember you had one presentation
Hmm.
where you were kind of comparing them, like Telegram to Signal. So like which ones are
Yeah.
actually like more privacy actually functional, and which communities are like more privacy conscious in terms of like messaging apps?
It should be Signal, right? Because Signal, the founder and CEO of Signal Foundation was, he used to be a huge PGP fan, but one day he just wrote a blog that hey, PGP is not, don't send me PGP encrypted messages ever again. And that's why he decided to like start the Signal project. And Signal has been focusing on like privacies and securities for years, and we do believe them because they have those like documentations like well written and posted publicly on their websites, and we all know what techniques they're using, and that's why we should trust them, right? And but one thing that I hate about Signal is actually, if you have used Signal or Telegram, you will see that hey, you will need a working phone number to register there, right? Because you will have to like put your phone number there and receive a some like authentication code to finish this registration, even though you won't need that phone number ever again. But that's not applicable to many to the people in many countries, because in most of the countries, I guess, like to get a working phone number, you will need to get the KYC done by the government. So basically, if they're like if Signal compromises themselves to the government, sorry, but they have never done that yet. But if one day their database was attacked or some other bad things happen, governments would know who registered on Signal, and that's a really bad thing, because like even though governments would never know what's going on between you and other people, because everything was end to end encrypted, and then only if you can get this private keys you can decrypt those messages, but you can't, because yeah, it's like everything was like stored locally. But one thing is, sorry, but to like governments would know that hey, I don't care that what you're talking about on Signal, but I know, hey, you have registered on Signal and you must be doing some bad things. And this metadata is still really important to the users. And that's why I have been talking about this for long. And that's also why we decided to work on our own like instant messaging app, the new TeslaCube. And it doesn't like require a working phone number to register. It requires, actually, it doesn't require anything. But if you want, you can just put your email address there. And we have done a email address based on password, like password recovery option for you. But if you don't really like it, because it's kind of like centralized service, but if you don't really like it, you can just opt out. You can use our app like pretty freely, because like we will generate a local private key for you, and then no one would ever know that, because that private key would never be uploaded onto any centralized servers or any other places. So that's why I believe our instant messaging app would be better in the future, but we're still on like the early stage. And talking back to some other like instant messaging apps, I will say that Telegram is good, but Telegram doesn't support end-to-end encryption natively. Only if you start a secret chat with someone else, and users wouldn't know that, right? Because users would say, hey, Telegram is a secure messaging app that we can trust, but they should know that Telegram doesn't like turn on that end-to-end encryption natively. You will have to click that start secret chat with someone else and start that session like to get the end-to-end encryptions. And talking about some other messaging apps, I will say um because in that presentation I got a really long list there, and Threema was some other options that you can trust, but I've used Threema for like months, but no one was on that place, and the UI and UX were really I can't say it's buggy because there's no bug there, but it was really um not user friendly. I don't think people would ever use it. I mean, um, that's the problem, right? Because like there are some other options right now, because such as on Confide, it's something like I can probably show you how it works, because it has a really weird UI. On this app is called Confide, and you can, I don't know, let me try to, yeah, to say this. You can just send someone else some like secure messages, and it'll show up as a um sorry, I don't know. It doesn't show the things there, but the UI there was really confusing.
Is it because of how it was designed, like just like poorly designed, or is there like fundamental trade-off between privacy and usability?
I mean, they were trying to, well, that's a problem actually. And I think the people behind Confide was trying to make their like user experience better. So they did a lot of like hacks on this app to make some really fancy features on that. Like if you receive a like encrypted message, you have to like slide on the sentences to let it show up the words. Basically, you were like basically scratching that like a paper, and to like let it show up the real contents behind it. But the that was like pretty confusing, and that feature was not that user friendly, because like users would never want to do this at all, because all they want is just like the message show up, and I don't care what's behind it. It's as long as it's end-to-end encrypted, I trust it. I don't really need something else. I don't need this like fancy like thing showing up there. And their UI was also pretty confusing, because like you would never know those messages would disappear after you have scratched it out. And then it'll sorry, it'll just disappear, and until you find out there should be like tens of messages messages posted to your like received on your app, and I would never like recommend my friends to use it because yeah, I mean it's not I'm sorry, it's not that like user friendly, and I guess most of the secure messaging apps would all have the same problem because even though Signal has really good, really large community, but people still complaining the Signal's UI because it was just too simple. That no fancy features were on that, and like maybe like months ago they just added this sticker thing on Signal, and yeah, they finally have the sticker, but it was like pretty limited. So I mean, end users would never choose that because they get no benefits. Again, they get no benefits from that. They don't care about their privacy. They care about like how an app. They care about like a good experience from this app. They want to send their friends some like fancy stickers or some funny stickers. They want to send their friends gifts, and they want to send their even like if you can send your like friends some cryptos on a messaging app, it'll be super fancy, right? But signals or other some like secure messaging apps would never ever, I don't know, would never like do this within years, within the near future.
Yeah, we actually have like one of engineers at near he built like 35 stickers for me. So like
Okay. 35 stickers. Okay, I love stickers.
you're right, you're kind of competing with like Telegram. Like Signal is competing with Telegram in a way, and like if you don't have some of this functionality in a situation where people do not care about privacy, then you'll just lose.
Yeah, you'll just lose those people. Yeah.
How do you also think overall about like identity and how that works? Like, are you working with like decentralized identity for the new TensorCube application? Like, how do you think, is it like important component building block?
Yes, I do believe that decentralized identities are a really important part of our system. Like this decentralized identity is actually spreaded both on Massbook and TensorCube and everything we're building right now. And but we don't really cut it the ID or decentralized identities identifiers or sorry decentralized identifiers. Um, yeah, the official name of that. People are talking about the IDs, but I don't know. Like I treat the IDs as like some decentralized identities that people can control locally. I believe in a decentralized identity future because I believe that the existing identity systems like the password, the traditional username and password system will never um, 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 be be successful in the future because people are starting to be educated by how their privacies are being stolen, and one day we need to decentralize those things again. Like in my presentations, I compared some like old school or traditional solutions to this problem. So they were like password management apps like one password, right? Like last password, one password, but it was basically not doing anything at all because like they were just trying to help you store your password in their like system or in their service. And all you need to remember is one password instead of like many or hundreds of them. But it doesn't solve the problem. And the other is well, sorry, but it does solve the problem that people would lose their password, and it'll add like good experience to users, but it never solves the privacy problem. The privacy problem. And the other thing is the it's called OpenID, and it was a open and public standard since like 2005, or yes, at least tens of years ago. And if you're using like Google logging or Facebook logging or even like Twitter, Instagram logging, you're using OpenID. And still, like, it doesn't like solve the privacy problem because your privacy or your credit is now depending on those identity providers such as Google and Facebook. Can we really trust them? No, because if you use Google ID to log into like tens or hundreds of different websites, yes, of course, like those webs, it'll like just make your life easier because you don't really have to register again. You just need to use Google login to log into those systems. But Google now has the information that you are accessing that websites, and your privacy is controlled by Google. Google knows what you like and which platforms or which websites you like, you visit often. And this information can be used by Google or Facebook or those like large platforms to 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 control you. Like at least they can like post related ads to you, such as I love like trains. I love like locomotives and some other like modern trains. And I do visit some like really rare platforms or forums that like only has hundreds of users there. And if I use Google login, Google will know this guy has a really great interest in trains. And then it'll just like post me some like train related ads to me. And this is really, I would say it's really, this thing is really, sensitive and it's really private to me. And this ads posting is really, it can never be found by users because everything was just so small, just primitive. And you will never find a trace back to why they are posting this ads to me. You will just feel, hey, this is some really um maybe this is really rare ads posting and they're just trying to see what I like and what I don't like. But you will never know everything was controlled by those platforms. And that's why I hate password management systems and open IDs because like your privacy has never been solved at all. And
Give control to this one company.
right. You just choose to be controlled by whom. You got the option and then to be controlled by whom. But still you're being controlled. We believe that in the open web or in the real like internet, everybody should never be controlled by anybody else. And I don't think that one ID to log into many websites is a great thing because we already have this like open ID thing, and this is not anything fancy. I do believe is that what's fancy or what's more important is that you can actually create thousands or millions of different identities in one platforms, and you don't really have this freedom right now. You can like register once on Facebook by one on working phone number, and that's all. I mean, it'll like they have this limitation because like you can only get one working phone number, or you can, yeah, of course you can get multiple phone numbers, but you got like controlled by the government, and the government know uh, like all of these like 30 phone numbers are controlled by one person because you have to register there. And those platforms could get the access to this information to know, hey, actually, these people are connected, and actually, they're the same person on our website. And I don't think this is a good thing because, like, for me, I I, I will register like multiple accounts on Reddit or on Twitter because I do have different purposes and I do have different communities of my like friendship circle. I mean, I am I'm someone. I mean, I'm like random person A. While I was working with my colleagues and some other like companies, but I'm someone else when I was with my friends. And that's called persona, right? You have different personas where you have different representations of yourselves in different like scenarios, in different contexts. You are Sasha with your friends, but you could be someone else with someone else, right? With your family or with your colleagues, you will like show up differently to those people. And you got the freedom to show up like these different personas on on the internet too. But the internet doesn't have you doesn't allow you to do this because the internet was not controlled by the people. It is controlled by those large platforms, and those large platforms don't really allow this at all.
Yeah, so it seems like people kind of like starting to
Mhm.
realize now that like it's all about like where data is being resided. Like it's either on corporate servers is where your data is stored. That means that those companies kind of control you in a way, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we believe this should be eliminated, like in the near future when we really have this open web. That's our vision.
How do you think open web will evolve? Because like we think at near about open web sometimes, and not even everyone on the same page when it comes to open web at near. But like if you look at the blockchain space today, that's not something that's on people's forefronts today too much. There's like DeFi momentum happening, for example,
Yeah.
but like open web, it feels like if you ask people, they'll be like, well, it will take like 3, 4, 5 years to like really have this new market mature. So
Right.
how do you think it will evolve?
To me, I would say this is not something that can come up true in the near future too, because like again, like I've been talking about this for many times in this podcast because people will finally shift to something else when they feel I can get more benefits from the new one instead of the old ones. And when people feel that the existing like things or existing platforms are hurting themselves instead of like are benefiting those people, they can finally like they will finally look for something new to adapt to. But right now, like blockchain is or the DeFi is really on the fire right now, and why people are using that or why people are participating in this DeFi thing only because they can get a lot of money, they can get a lot of benefits from that. And when they're like the gas fees are really high, it was like 500 GWay, but they will still like participating in this game because they get more money out of it, even though they will need to pay 1 ETH for each transaction to those contracts, but they get more. They get a lot more Ethereums out of it. And that I guess that's why DeFi is really on the fire right now. But when DeFi, you can't really earn that much money from DeFi, and people would be like pretty innocent in this, or they will be pretty it shouldn't be innocent. It should be let me see. People will leave this thing very soon. Soon after they realize they can never get more money from that. And for the open web, I still cannot see the benefits for the users because like we have been part of the DWeb, Decentralized Web community. And yeah, I also founded this like DWeb Shanghai meetup group, being part of the DWeb global node. But we have hosted 3 or 4 like meetups since last September, and people came, but people didn't know why we're doing this because I was like talking about like how we should decentralize our web or why this web should be decentralized instead of in this like existing like business model. And I was like talking about different decentralized web techniques like like decentralized databases or decentralized storages or even decentralized social networks. but people just don't really get the point why we should migrate to those like infrastructures instead of staying in the existing ones. They don't get benefits. I mean, one day if we can figure out why people would like desperately move to some other platforms, I guess that's when the open web can come up true. But not now. I mean, yeah, it's still, yeah, because like, yeah, users wouldn't like, they really don't care about techniques, what techniques you're using, what fancy algorithms you're adopting, what fancy um um technical problems you have solved. They don't care. They just care about their experience, about their benefits. If they can get money, if they can earn a lot of money from the open web, whatever it's called, or whatever, however you want to define it, they will just migrate to the open web. But for now, I don't think we have this done yet. We cannot just like educate people enough to let them migrate to this open web or to some better web than this like centralized web. we can we cannot incentive them to move. I mean that's, yeah, I mean that's pretty nature.
And do you think it all starts with like developers? So them getting excited
Yeah,
about like platform shift and building a whole bunch of stuff, and then like a couple years later, like something will actually work. Do you think it's all about like essentially starting with developers?
at least in our DOC Shanghai meetup, we have we have basically at least 70% of the people, the participants, are developers. And developers, I mean, are really firstly, they know techniques very well, and secondly, they do want to study like interesting stuff in this field a lot. So I mean, they're the best people to work on first.
Do you think of DWeb community also as separate from the blockchain community, or is it somewhat related? Kind of like I almost like feel like there's like peer-to-peer community, and like
Yes.
DWeb, like people went to like DWeb San Francisco, a couple of people from our office, for example. But then like it feels like it's kind of like not exactly the same community as like blockchain community. In fact, some of them are fairly antagonistic towards each other, and they feel like blockchain is like very like commercial, almost like opposite to peer-to-peer movement.
I will say that the web community is a super group um of blockchain community, because yeah, I mean, in case you don't really know about like the web or community, it is firstly, or it was like hosted by the Internet Archive, and they were pretty radical on the new techniques. And actually, in the very first decentralized web summit back to 2017, yeah, or 16, yeah, it was in 2016, and they invited both like blockchain people and non-blockchain people. They invited Vin Cerf from Google. They invited like Tim Berners-Lee, and they also invited some other, yeah, you know, like those like big names in the existing like internet evolutions. And they also invited some other people, such as the founder of IPFS, Huan Burnett. He also went there to 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 talk about his IPFS back to like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. And it was, they were pretty um how can I say that? They were pretty open to other techniques. I mean, they love Ethereum's because like the founders of Internet Archive went to the DEF CON last year in Osaka, and yeah, they were pretty open to this. I mean, they love new ideas and they love new things, and they want to embrace the whole community. Like blockchains are basically some like decentralized ledgers or decentralized systems, and it's bringing democracies, it's bringing the rights back to the people again. And as long as people are working on this like field, or put like to this like direction, they should be part of the decentralized webs community. And that's why we also invited blockchain related projects to come and did presentations in our meetups. And we believe this should be inclusive. And blockchain should not be like a really lonely group or a pretty like close group that doesn't like welcome those other like decentralized web techniques. I mean, they should be like, I mean, the blockchains and some other projects should be helping each other. They should not like focus on their like blockchains alone. Because like if you do have the blockchains but you don't really have the endpoints or the RPCs, people still cannot access your service. Like I don't know, but maybe you can talk to some like decentralized database people or decentralized storage people to see how you can like connect your thing to their like projects. Maybe you can like store, yeah, maybe you can store the blockchain, the ledgers to some decentralized storages and index them in those decentralized like databases. People should be like helping each other or should be cooperating with each other instead of like saying, hey, we are right and you are wrong, and this should never happen.
And what would be the advice for you for like new people joining the space? Like, because you like kind of jumped into like entrepreneurship opportunity, started your own company together with Suji. How, like, if you were to give advice to somebody coming out of college, like thinking about joining the space, like, how would you go about like finding the team, learning about the space, kind of initial resources? Like, how would you go about it?
Do you want me to tell the truth?
Hmm.
Never do a startup, please. Never. Because like, no, I'm just kidding. But doing a startup is really hard, and it's hurt. It does hurt your life at all. Like I don't really have a life right now because like we really have to think about like the jobs we're working on, the everything related to the companies, and our life is like this. You wake up and think about, hey, what we should do to get more money from the like investors or from our users, and you work the whole day and you just feel too tired and to work anymore. You just get to sleep, and that's a basic life we are having right now, right? And I don't uh, to me, my advice that if you're not prepared, just don't do a startup. But if you do, just do it right and do it like with your full power. And to me, the starting a good starting point is because I was now in charge of like fundraising. That was done by Suji, maybe like mostly by himself and some other people. Because like I was not involved in that. I was basically working on the technical part of our company. And my advice to this field, at least, is that you will have to like learn a lot before doing this, because like we have been learning for at least 1 year in this field to really like find out what we should do as a starting point. And you will have to learn a lot of the different things, not just blockchains, not just like blockchain related stuff. You have to think about how this blockchain can help the existing website or it can help the existing internet. Because like if you have a blockchain but you have this thing alone, you can never help people. You're not fixing some existing problems. Just don't like work on a chain or work on a blockchain or create your own blockchain before before thinking through what problems you want to solve. And this is really essential. Firstly, think about what you are interested, and then like think about like what problems you want to solve in the existing internet. Maybe it's related to privacy, or maybe it's related to those like um um finance area, Maybe the cross-border transactions are really hard, and that's why you want this blockchain to help you or help people to like to transact their money like across borders. And then you will think about, hey, how a blockchain can be helpful here. You don't really need a blockchain uh, unless you really need a blockchain to solve it. And once you have thought about this through, I think it's a really good starting point for you to start working on your thing. But just find some good friends with you in the very beginning, because it's gonna be a real long journey, and you cannot just tell people, "Hey, just come and join us," and 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 we really don't really know like how this could end. And you could be like you can get no money maybe in the very beginning, at least in 1 year, and you should be prepared. And that's why I really suggest you should talk to your friends and see if you guys can help each other. And I don't know, like yeah, and learn more, like learn frequently. Just this field is changing a lot and changing rapidly. And if you don't learn, you'll get lost.
How can lastly people find more information about you?
About me, just don't Google me, please. But just Google Maskbook. It's maskbook.com. Yeah, we do have this website. It's maskbook.com and testracube.com. And you will find more information there. And if you are interested in our code, all of the codes are fully open sourced under AGPL v3 license. And we welcome all kinds of like forks and all kinds of like modification on our code. And come and join us build this. I don't know, build this open web. I can't really say that we are building this open web, but we are part of it, I believe. And if you are interested, we have more applications right now. It's not just privacy related. We do have a lot more features there, such as you can basically send out an Ethereum wrap packet, or I don't know if you guys know wrap packet, but just Google it, please. Yeah, you do, but not the I don't know, not the audiences. But if you don't, just Google wrap packets, please. It's a really traditional Chinese thing, and we just wrap some money in like red packets, and you will send it to your friends. And then people can just just find out and you can actually send out a real Ethereum wrap packet on Twitter with Mathbook, and it's fully decentralized. We don't really have control over that because it's a like contract. And you can do some other things on Twitter with Maxim right now. You can if you hover your mouse on on the like one of the symbols, one of the like the blockchain token symbols, you'll see how it goes, how the price changes. And then you will also find out, hey, I can like actually find this like Ethereum to this token pair on which exchanges. And in case you have never used that, just download the Mathbook, and then you will find out why. We are recommending this to you guys.
Well, thank you for joining today. That was really informative conversation.
Thank you.
Hey, so thank you for listening. You can find more episodes of this podcast at openwebcollective.com. If you're a founder looking for help with product, go-to-market, or fundraise, apply on the same exact website. It's openwebcollective.com. If you really like this episode, I would really appreciate if you give us a review on a platform of choice where you listen to podcasts to. And finally, if you're on Twitter, we are at OpenWebFounders. Again, the handle is at OpenWebFounders. I'll see you next week.